And are you going to be rooting for the Blue Bombers on Sunday? Well, it's an exciting time, and I want to acknowledge some special friends who are here. Former Prime Minister Paul Martin and Premier Greg Selinger. And I want to acknowledge my dear friend Greg Kielburger and Mark Kielburger. Let me tell you, I first met Greg Kielburger when he was 12 years old, the age of some of you here. And his conscience had been awakened by the story he read about another 12-year-old on the other side of the world who was suffering injustice. And he then took steps to change the world. He, with the help of his brother Mark and with the help of some of his classmates and others then, he formed Free the Children. And now over 1 million young people all over the world have been involved in Free the Children. Thank you for being a part of Free the Children. In 45 countries, children are being freed from ignorance, from exploitation, from the feeling that they are powerless. You are not powerless. You have the ability to join together and do great things, as Craig has done. I remember when I was 12 years old, growing up a big part of my childhood in the American South in the U.S., I witnessed the beginning of the Civil Rights Movement. Back then, there were laws that justified treating people differently just because of the color of their skin. I know that's impossible to believe in this day and age, and of course there is still such injustice. But those laws were changed partly because of young people who were the age that you are now, who stood up for justice and asked people older than them, tell me again why it's okay to discriminate against people because of their skin color. And when older people could not answer those questions, the laws began to change. You can change the world. When you see injustice, when you see things that need to be changed, you can speak out and change them. Listen, what Craig has done with Mark, and I'm in awe of this organization and proud to play a small part. You know, we're in the hockey ring, but my favorite sport is basketball, and I remember a story about my favorite basketball player, Michael Jordan, years ago. He scored 67 points in a single game, and after the game, one of the sports writers interviewed a rookie on the team who had scored 1 point in that same game, and said, what is your reaction? And he said, well, I'll always remember this as the night when Michael Jordan and I combined for 68 points. I'll remember this as the time that I combined with Greg Kielburger to help launch Winnipeg We Day. You are here for a reason. Let me tell you about one challenge that I think is one of the greatest injustices in the world that you can help to solve, and that is global warming, the climate crisis. We are now putting 90 million tons of global warming pollution into the atmosphere of the world every day, and it's building up and trapping heat. We can solve this problem, but we must, because you look around the world at what has happened just in the last year with the big floods in Pakistan, moving 20 million people out of their homes, further destabilizing a nuclear-armed country. The floods in Thailand right now, 1/3 of the country is underwater. So many people suffering as a result. In this hemisphere, El Salvador got 1.5 meters of rain in a 10-day period last month. Colombia has had 5 times more rain this year than they get in an average year. My hometown of Nashville, Tennessee had a once-in-a-thousand-year rainfall. Manitoba had the largest flood in its history earlier this year, according to your premier. Certainly one of the largest floods ever. These events are happening around the world because the warmer oceans are evaporating water vapor into the air. The warmer air holds more of it, and these storms reach out so far that when the downpour occurs, they are larger and they cause larger floods. And the same heat is also drying out the soil and causing deeper droughts and causing more fires. So we have to stop treating the atmosphere as an open sewer. We have to put a price on carbon. We have to move to renewable energy and greater levels of efficiency, and solar power and wind power and geothermal power and hydropower, and put people to work. You can help to bring this about. You can make changes in your own lives, but remember this. Changing the light bulbs is important, but changing the laws is much more important. So speak up and get active in the political system, whatever political party you or your families are in. Speak up. Remember that you can bring about positive change. There is an old African proverb that says, if you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. We have to go far quickly, and we need your help. You have seen in Canada how the spirit of involvement in helping others has made such a difference. Canada has had more blue helmet missions around the world than that of any other country in the world. Is the home of the upcoming Human Rights Museum, which is going to be one of the greatest. You have the ability to take that spirit that you know is good and true, and then act on it. The great Desmond Tutu said famously, when you pray, move your feet. Mahatma Gandhi, as you know very well, said, you must become the change that you wish to see in the world. This world needs the change that you can bring to this world. I want to tell you one more story from when I was actually 13 years old. A president of my country, John F. Kennedy, issued a challenge to put a person on the moon and bring him back safely in 10 years. And I remember many older people at that time saying, that was a mistake. We could never do that. That would be a big waste of money. But 8 years and 2 months later, Neil Armstrong set foot on the surface of the moon. And the day that he did, the very moment that he set foot on the moon, there was a great cheer that went up in the headquarters of the Mission Control Center of NASA in Houston, Texas. And the average age of the systems engineers at Mission Control that day was 26 years old. And you know, that means that when they first heard that challenge to go to the moon, their average age was 18. Young people can do things that others have never dreamed of. Young people can change the world and make it a better place. You can change the world and make it a better place. Now, years from now, when your generation is the age of my generation, depending upon what we do about global warming, there will be one of two questions asked of us in our time. If the world is suffering the terrible consequences the scientists have been warning us about for so long, every National Academy of Science in the entire world agrees with the consensus that we've got to act urgently. Every scientific association agrees. 98% of all the climate scientists that are actively publishing, if their predictions come true, if we do nothing, and there is a world with hundreds of millions of climate refugees and bigger storms and worse floods and deeper droughts and all of the problems they've warned about, then people might look back at us in this time and ask, why didn't you do anything? What was going on? But if you grow up into a world that has a spirit of renewal, where tens of millions of new jobs are being created, getting rid of the dirty energy sources of the past, becoming more efficient, putting people to work, making communities more livable, and reducing global warming pollution, and creating a spirit of hope. I want people in the future to look back at us in our time and ask, how did you find the moral courage to rise up and solve a crisis that so many said was impossible to solve? And part of the answer will be that in Winnipeg, in Manitoba, in Canada, 16,000 young people came